Hi everyone, it's Oz here. It's been a great pleasure to be able to put this together for Peter. I'm not professional, but I'm getting there, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of information here. I had 15 hours of tapes to edit through, so I mean, you know, there's a lot of nuggets here for people to digest. So please share this information with other people. Come into our websites and as I say, know you're going to be blessed by a lot of interesting stuff that Peter's sharing. Bye for now.
1, 2, 3. We're okay. We begin this very special recording, film recording, outside the Zion Gate of the old city of Jerusalem. Because this was not the wall that existed in the days of Jesus. This was built by Solomon the Great. It has 8 gates into the old city, and this is the Zion Gate. And the reason why I've chosen this to launch this very special film is because here in 1948 was the great conflict between the Jordanese and the new Jewish state. Now, what about this wonderful city we call Jerusalem? Of course, it was first named Salem, meaning the city of peace. The earliest record in the scriptures is to be found in Hebrews chapter 11, where we read that Abraham went out to seek and find a city whose foundations, whose founder was God and the angels. This can be dated back to about 1656 from Adam. All the dates that I quote you, beloved, are from Adam rather than the BC AD periods that they're commonly used. By the way, here in Israel they use the term CE, which is Christian era. No, this is Jerusalem as it has been the last 600-700 years. And this is where the fighting was during the great conflict between the Jordanese and the new established Jewish state under the mandate of the United Nations in 1948. So join us on this very pleasant day. You're going to learn a lot, I assure you.
Rebecca.
Okay.
I'm Rebecca.
You're the Rebecca, are you? Right, okay. I won't argue with you, Rebecca.
This is one of the typical Jewish synagogues to be found in the Jewish quarter of the old city. The synagogue period evolved while they were in captivity in Babylon. Some 50,000, if you remember, in the days of Ezra and Nehemiah, who returned to rebuild the city. As long as there was a quorum of, say, 10 or 12, then that meant that there was a genuine gathering of folk, of Jewish personnel who were accepted into a fellowship community, and that became the synagogue period. So you'll find all over Israel today there are synagogues. It's a debating chamber as well, where folk can come together. They read through the special reading of the Pentateuch. It's the first 5 books of the Bible. It takes a whole 12 months to go through that reading period, but they can discuss it, and the Mishnah, of course, is a record of discussions down through the ages of those who have kept on record of the details of those discussions. It talks about them talking together about the things of God, and a record was made of them. And this is one. This is called the Four Shepherd Synagogue. That is the Jewish Heritage Centre over there on the west. This is especially for the women to come and read the Torah and discuss it. That's why it's called what it is there. It's the Women's Torah Institute.
Someone's going to get you. Yeah, you hand it back to me.
The business is not the problem, it's whether or not I have the practice.
So you have four quarters in the old city. You have the Armenian quarter that we drove through. This is the Jewish quarter. This touching is the Islam quarter when we go on the Stations of the Cross, and the Christian quarter is up in the north. So you've got four different quarters of communities in the old city. The old city is about 2.5 miles square, but the walls of the old city that we see now were not built in the days of Jesus. They were totally destroyed, but they were built by Solomon the Great, and that brought them under the Turkish dynasty until, of course, the First World War. Because when General Allenby and the Allied forces took over this whole area as far as Damascus, that put an end to the Turkish dynasty. And the film Lawrence of Arabia covers that period. If you've seen it any time, it's well worth looking at. Okay, we're going down to the Western Wall now. Can you come in here? Can you come quickly? It's not good time. Just come in. Come and stand here. Turn around and look behind you. Peter, can you come round the corner? Right, now behind you, this is unique, that's why I brought you this way. Behind you, you've got the Burnt House Museum, okay, which is a recent archaeological discovery. This house was burnt during the AD 68-70 siege of the old city of Jerusalem. It's one of the remaining items from the General Titus siege, AD 68 to AD 70. So the items you see there come from the Roman period. It's a remarkable find, and of course they made a museum of it now. It's well worth showing you this, and of course the items on the table there were what they found in the house, although it was burnt down because what Titus did, he burnt the city, burnt down the whole of the city area as it was then, and particularly let me just explain. There was about 1.25 million people in the city at the time of the siege, and Titus would like to have arranged a peace treaty about it. with Joseph, with Flavius Josephus. Okay, Flavius Josephus was appointed to be the commander in charge of looking after the city when the Romans attacked. But he recognized it was a hopeless proposition. So he went to see Titus and negotiate a peace treaty. But the zealot Jews immediately said he was an enemy. And to the Jewish people today, the name of Flavius Josephus is an anathema, just like Jesus. You mentioned Joseph, Flavius Josephus, and they'll spit on the ground because they hate him as much as they hate Jesus, believe it or not, simply because they've said he was a traitor to try and arrange a peace treaty. Now, if he hadn't done, then of course the whole story of history would have changed. But this was sieged for 2 years. 1.25 million inhabitants were here, but they were not all local people. A lot of them were visitors, because it was the period of the feast days that they were here when the siege took place. And they all perished. It was the first real Holocaust, and they all perished, which was sad, really. And actually, of course, now Flavius Josephus wrote about the siege. So if you want to get a copy of the book, you can order it through your bookshop, and you can read what it was like here in Jerusalem in the 1st century, the Christian era, how people lived, where they went, what they did, and so on. It's a wonderful record. So Josephus, although he was now in the Roman camp outside the city, he was able to do all the writings. Now, if it hadn't have happened, we would have never had that record. So you can see God overruling everything. And that's why the Jewish aspect of Israel has been almost a cursed aspect. The reason is this, that when they crucified Jesus, they said, "Away with him, crucify him." But they also added these words, "His blood be upon us and our children." And that's why the Jews have suffered ever since. But remember, the Jews are only 2 tribes, the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, and the respective Levites that serve the 12 tribes. The Israelis are the rest of them. And in the days of Jesus, that was a recognized situation here in Jerusalem. There was the Jews and the Israelis. They were 2 separate companies. Okay. Remember how Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, Jesus said, "An Israelite indeed, in whom there is no guile." And Jesus spent very little time here in Jerusalem. Twice a year he came here. Okay, we'll walk on in case they're listening in and... Just have a quick peek. This is the menorah.